So we got several positive updates about the team today that is actually the best case scenario when you consider the fact that not only are they getting 2 key players back very soon, but 2 other players that left Sunday's game due to injury are both not as banged up as feared, with one of them even practicing as a full participant today. So I've got to talk about all that and more. But first, how about those? All right, before we get into all the news from today, I think it's time to put to bed, in case you were wondering, which quarterback has been the best in the business this season when it matters most. My favorite way to do that is by looking at game-winning drives. Can you deliver with the game on the line? But before I get to that, I want to revisit some of the Chiefs' close wins because this season has been filled with stressful down-to-the-wire W after stressful down-to-the-wire W. Of the Chiefs' 12 wins this season, 10 of them have been one-score games, and 8 of them have ended in pretty wild fashion. Week 1 featured Ravens tight end Isaiah Likely's toe stepping out of bounds in the back of the end zone as time expired. Ravens lose. Then Week 2 involved a legitimate DPI penalty. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise, because if they do, they're freaking lying and in denial. This penalty helped set up a 51-yard game-winning field goal against the Bengals. 1 week later, the Falcons were trailing by 5, needing a touchdown to win, but couldn't convert on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 at the 13-yard line. Then Week 8, Kareem Hunt had that walk-off touchdown against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in overtime. Week 9 might have been the craziest of them all when Leo Chanel blocked the Broncos' game-winning field goal attempt to seal it. Week 11 in Carolina, Mahomes had that epic run up the sideline with under a minute to go, and their second kicker of the year, Spencer Schrader, proceeded to kick the game winner. Week 12 was probably the quote-unquote luckiest end-game win after the Raiders imploded and Aiden O'Connell fumbled the snap in field goal range, but the Chiefs recovered. Then, of course, when you think you've seen it all, based on what I just talked about from these 7 other games, last week, Week 13 against the Chargers, Mahomes helped lead yet another game-winning drive, converting 2 key third downs to help set up a 31-yard chip shot for the Chiefs' 3rd kicker of the year, Matthew Wright. And of course, he doinked it off the left upright to leave us all freaking out, but it went in. Another Chiefs W was then the result. All in all, 7 of these close one-score games have ended up in a win as a result of a game-winning drive from Patrick Mahomes. So the Chiefs are 10-0 in one-score games this year, with Mahomes helping come back to win at the end in 7 of them. Meanwhile, the Bengals are 2-7 in one-score games this season, with Burrow leading just 1 game-winning drive. So cool. Several quarterbacks around the league, like Joe Burrow, are putting up better stats, pretty impressive numbers, yet can't come up clutch when it truly matters. And please spare me with the whole the Bengals defense is failing them nonsense. I mean, yeah, the Bengals defense is pretty freaking terrible. They are allowing an average of 27.7 points per game, which is 4th worst in the league. But again, they have 9 one-score games, yet have only been able to pull off 2 wins. The Chiefs defense allowed 26.6 points per game back in 2018. Meanwhile, Kansas City still won 12 games and made it to the AFC Championship, losing in overtime after the Patriots scored a touchdown and Mahomes never even got to step out on the field because the rules hadn't changed yet until Josh Allen couldn't step on the field in overtime, but I digress. Meanwhile, the Bengals, they are 5-8 this season and most likely will miss the playoffs entirely. Well, what about the span of a quarterback's career in regard to game-winning drives? Let's not just isolate this one season because maybe some of them have done better in years prior. Well, Mahomes has 23 game-winning drives in the regular season and 6 in the playoffs, 29 total. Next, Josh Allen has 21 game-winning drives in the regular season, but 0 in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson has 10 game-winning drives in the regular season and also 0 in the playoffs. Joe Burrow has had 8 game-winning drives in his career in the regular season, 2 in the playoffs, though. So he's the only one on here other than Mahomes that have game-winning drives in the playoffs. One of those, sadly, was against the Chiefs in that AFC Championship collapse. But I digress. The point is, one QB on the list here is not like the others. So miss me with the touchdowns, yards, and all the fluff. When the game is on the line, can your quarterback get it done? Patrick Mahomes can, more times than not, and that is the biggest difference of them all. And it's not even close. From here, I got to get into 2 players returning here very soon from IR. One had his window to return literally open up today, and also take a look at the state of this team regarding key injuries and recent performances heading into this Sunday's matchup against the Browns. But before I get to that, Chiefs Bids is back with another partnered giveaway featuring not 1, but 2 fire items. The first is this ice white Riddell full-size salute to service helmet signed by Travis Kelce, and I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the cleanest looking helmets I've ever seen. And then there's also this full-size replica helmet signed by linebacker Nick Bolton, who addressed it to the HBTC community as well, which is pretty dope. And in case you didn't know, Chiefs Bids is accessible through the official Chiefs app and features all kinds of signed Chiefs memorabilia from current or former Chiefs players you can bid on. And right now they have holiday mystery boxes up that includes a signed jersey from either Patrick Mahomes, Isaiah Pacheco, Harrison Butker, or several other Chiefs greats that's either on the team right now or from previous years. 10% of these 300 available boxes, by the way, come with a golden ticket that will get you either a surprise signed pylon helmet or football. So make sure to check those out, as well as other items such as signed commemorative tickets, helmets, and more that gets updated all the time. Now, to enter for your chance to win that full-size helmet signed by Travis Kelce, when you're in the app, just filter the offer type to giveaways and the helmet will immediately pop up for you. When you enter, make sure to fill out your profile, including a shipping address and card info, because the winner will have to pay for shipping. Then, to enter for your chance to win that full-size replica helmet signed by Nick Bolton, just go to the pinned tweet on my X account. Make sure you are following both me and Metabilia. They run Chiefs Bids, retweet and tag 3 friends. That's it. The winner will be selected Tuesday, December 17th. Meanwhile, the Kelce helmet winner will be selected this Sunday evening after the Chiefs and Browns game. All right, so the Chiefs begin prep for a road game against the Cleveland Browns that takes place this upcoming Sunday at noon. The Browns have lost 4 of their last 5, with Jameis Winston, highest of highs and lowest of lows quarterback. Much respect to him, but he's thrown 9 interceptions and 9 touchdowns in that span. Meanwhile, the Chiefs have won 4 of their last 5, with Mahomes throwing 9 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. He's actually thrown 0 interceptions over the last 3 games, which has helped massively considering how close these games have been, as I just detailed a little bit ago. This is also game 1 of 3 in the span of 11 days for the Chiefs and a few other teams, with Andy saying it's a unique situation, but they are just taking things one game at a time as far as preparation is concerned. Patrick Mahomes said he's excited to play on Christmas because he wants to make things right after losing last year on that day. But he then went on to say you never really want to play this many games in such a short amount of time. It's not great on your body, but at the end of the day, it's your job. So yeah, they got to do what they got to do. Face off against the Browns on Sunday, December 15th, then the Texans Saturday, December 21st, and finally the Steelers December 25th. 3 games in 11 days is insane. Next up, I do have some good news and the hopeful return of a couple of players here very soon. I'll start with kicker Harrison Butker, who Andy Reid said today in his presser is going to get some kicking at practice to see how he feels. And with that, Butker's 21-day window to return from IR did indeed open up after having minor knee surgery on his meniscus roughly a month ago. That means we could see Butker back as early as this Sunday's game, but I imagine they give him at least another week. But let's see how he trends during practice. Is he limited all week? Does he ever trend to full? That'll kind of tell a little bit more of the tale, but typically Andy Reid likes to bring a player back and at least have him get a week or 2 of practice under their belt before playing in a game. And even though that could mean Matthew Wright might be kicking for another week, the soon-to-be return of Harrison Butker is a huge boost for the team in theory, because he's basically Mr. Automatic when it comes to field goals. With Butker back, I don't think we need to worry about 31-yard chip shots doinking off the upright. And the biggest thing I'm personally curious to see is, will Harrison Butker be changing his kicking style so he no longer falls down to one knee? And if he does, will that affect his accuracy? One player Andy Reid said will not yet play is the newly signed cornerback. He's new, but not really, Steven Nelson. He signed to the practice squad earlier this week and will be wearing number 38 because that's all that was available. Andy Reid said the goal of having him around right now is just to get him out there, moving around, and see how he does before worrying about bringing him up at this point in time. And then we have a bit of news surrounding Chiefs wideout Hollywood Brown. It's not really breaking news per se, because we've heard reports for weeks now from various Chiefs beat reporters as well as NFL insiders that Hollywood Brown had a meeting scheduled with his surgeon for clearance around week 15, and if cleared, which is how it's trending and what is expected, his return window could open up with a return to actually play being week 16 against the Texans or week 17 against the Steelers on Christmas. Well, Nate Taylor of The Athletic basically confirmed as much last night on his podcast, Only Weird Games, saying Hollywood Brown is expected to be practicing with his teammates this week at some point, and that obviously means his 21-day window to return from IR would open up, and he would have 3 weeks to return. Nate then said things with Hollywood would be a slow ramp up, but the target date to have him return is Christmas against the Steelers. They want to get Hollywood Brown on the field in a limited role to begin to try and help out the offense. Nate also went on to say that it could happen as early as next Saturday against the Texans, but everything would have to go right, and certain circumstances would have to make the coaching staff feel comfortable enough to bring Hollywood into that game, again, in limited reps if he does play. Andy Reid, though, remained non-committal for a timeline to return for Hollywood today in his presser, simply saying he's getting close, feels great, and is chomping at the bit to get back out there. Either way, the return is near, and that is some great news indeed, to have a guy out there known for beating man coverage, which Kelce and D-Hop aren't really known for at this point in time, same with Juju Smith-Schuster. So to have him out there should help prevent some coverage sacks at times. Yes, many of the sacks Mahomes has taken has been due to the O-line collapsing, mainly from the tackle spots, but there are also times where Mahomes is holding onto the ball a bit too long as he waits for somebody to get open. For better or worse, Mahomes likes to throw to the open receiver more times than not, even though he has been giving DeAndre Hopkins more contested catch opportunities because that is one of his definite strengths, has mitts of glue, I guess you could say, but outside of Hop, he's probably going to throw it when you are open. Now, another guy who's been earning more trust of Mahomes lately has been Xavier Worthy. He has the speed to beat man coverage, obviously, but as a rookie, life is all about learning to adjust based on coverages given, especially once the ball is snapped, and also to be on the same page with the quarterback's tendencies and expectations based on said coverages shown. Well, Worthy has been showing that in the back half of the season. He caught that very clutch 3rd and 10 pass from Mahomes for 14 yards on the final drive against the Chargers. Then earlier on in the game, he caught an 11-yard shallow crosser for the first down on 3rd and 7. And over the last 4 games, he's averaging between 4 to 5 catches for 50 or so yards, which is a definite, consistent improvement. Sure, a deep ball connect from time to time would be nice. They've been this close on about 5 of them this year, but the return of Hollywood Brown should help give him even more opportunities should Mahomes have time in the pocket for the play to develop, and should Mahomes actually take a deep shot opportunity down the field. Mahomes is currently throwing the second least amount of deep passes in the NFL right now, with only Tua Tagovailoa attempting less. Well, the hope is the left side holds up longer to potentially allow more deep ball opportunities with DJ Humphries now here, and as he knocks off a bit of that rust due to literally just being cleared to play after rehabbing from a torn ACL. The problem is, he tweaked his hamstring late in last week's win over the Chargers, and with the severity of his hamstring tweak currently unknown, at least as of yesterday, another former Chiefs tackle in Donovan Smith took to Twitter/X to share a Forrest Gump gif of him waving, basically saying, "Hi guys, I'm still here and around in case, you need the guy that helped you win the Super Bowl last year once again." I mean, if I'm Brett Veach and the hamstring of DJ Humphries was of any serious concern, I would not only have already made a call to his agent, but I would have put him on a private plane to hopefully pass a physical today and sign a contract on the dotted line. And while things were unknown as of yesterday when Donovan Smith tweeted that, the good news from today is I don't think a call to Donovan Smith is actually going to be necessary at this point in time. Andy Reid said today that while DJ Humphries won't practice today, they won't yet rule him out in Sunday's game, and he is improving. And he was out there at practice today doing some stretches, didn't participate in anything team-related, but he was out there at least in the stretch portion of practice, which is definitely a good sign. A source with a bit more knowledge of the situation said Humphries will most likely sit out this Sunday, but the hamstring injury was more of a tweak/strain than anything else. And I really hope that's the case because we need this man out there, especially for the playoff run. And the fact that he was out there today during the stretching portion of practice, I think hopefully points to things not being as serious as it could be. After all, Dak Prescott, for example, tore his hamstring in a game and had to undergo season-ending surgery. So if it was that bad, I really doubt you would see DJ Humphries out there on the field, let alone doing some stretches. Regardless, Humphries' status for Sunday remains uncertain at this point in time, and that means if he doesn't go, Wanya Morris most likely fills in again to protect the blind side of Patrick Mahomes, unless they kick left guard Joe Thuney out to the left tackle spot. But neither of those are ideal and make me a little terrified because Myles Garrett is going to be the pass rusher lining up opposite, most likely, Wanya Morris on Sunday. Myles Garrett is the defending Defensive Player of the Year and quite literally a monster of a man at 6'4" and 272 pounds. He's fourth among all pass rushers in pressures with 58, fourth in hurries with 38, and has 11 sacks on the year, which actually has him tied for second, again, amongst all defensive ends with Nick Bonito and trailing behind only Bengals pass rusher Trey Hendrickson by a sack and a half. So I don't want to stress you guys out too much, but this is probably the most important thing to watch for in this week's game, at least from a Chiefs offense versus Browns defense standpoint. Mahomes complimented Garrett, saying he's really good at basically everything, and they will for sure have to game plan around him, mixing things up to try and keep him honest at times. And then I did want to also mention that wide receiver Mecole Hardman shared yesterday on his Instagram story that the surgery on his knee was a success, sharing a photo of what appeared to be him heading home from said surgery. And based on how his knee looked with just a minor wrap over it, it looks like he had a knee scope, so a more minor surgery compared to something more major. And that could potentially mean he's not out for the entire season, though we will have to wait and see because he's got to miss at least the next 3 games before his window to return could open up, and that means he wouldn't be able to return until the final week of the regular season or maybe even just for the playoff push. Either way, that means Nico Remigio's season is right here and right now, and he did a pretty good job in his debut with the team as their returner last week in the Chargers game. The bar for returners here in KC, it's not extremely high. Just don't muff the punt and get some yards as able, and he definitely exceeded the expectations on that. And the reason why I titled this video around this being the best case scenario for the Chiefs is because you have Hollywood Brown soon to return, Harrison Butker soon to return, DJ Humphries seemingly not as injured as initially feared, or it's not worst case scenario for him at least. And then when you look at the injury report, somebody else we were worried about was cornerback Joshua Williams, the guy who's been playing pretty well after Najee Johnson got benched. Joshua Williams came in, and again, he's been playing pretty well, but left the game, was questionable to return with a chest injury, no detail given. But get this, full participant today at practice with his chest being listed, so he is trending to play, which is great freaking news. Then you had Trey Smith. He was a full participant just with an illness. I didn't even know you could be listed on the injury report with an illness if you fully participated, but okay. Then you had Jawan Taylor limited with the knee, but I'm not worried about it because they practice indoors and that's turf, and you want to be careful with knee injuries. And then Harrison Butker, limited participant, trending up. DJ Humphries, yes, the injury might not be as worse as we initially feared, but he did not practice today, possibly again not trending towards playing on Sunday against the Browns. That has its own concerns, but I'm just glad to see him out there and not on injured reserve. But let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments down below as far as the concerns that were initially had not being as severe. And then you've got Butker and Hollywood Brown coming back very, very soon. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on all that. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?